Hi, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Northern Illinois Wrestling Podcast. Today, we have Adam Latella, a Hononegah graduate and current assistant wrestling coach at University of Wisconsin Whitewater. Um, Adam, what's up?
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here with you.
Yeah, and on Monday we had Chad Vandiver from Harlem on, and it was cool to kind of go back in the history of wrestling a little bit. Um, so just to kind of catch people up on who you are and where you're from and stuff like that, can you just tell us when you wrestled at Hononegah and a little bit about high school wrestling?
So I was there 2002 to 2006. Wrestled for Marty here. Um, yeah, I actually moved my freshman year, so I was supposed to go to Dundee Crown, and we moved my freshman year to Hononegah. Um, And yeah, I think the program there really instilled a lot of work ethic things for me that me and Steve Dwyer kind of hit it off pretty fast, and we're pretty good friends. He was like one of the first real good friends I had at Hononegah, and so that kind of drove me into wrestling a little bit more. I wrestled my whole life. I started wrestling when I was 4, but Steve's if people don't know Steve. Steve was one of my practice partners. He's state champ for us, and yeah, so we started doing a lot of things that were different than some of the other athletes. We we'd lift, we do a lot of extra workouts and stuff. We'd go into Dan Casillas's room, and he'd let us keep milk in his fridge and pick up protein shakes. Um, but yeah, and then my senior year, I did something I guess a lot of people didn't think I could do. I always, I guess, thought I could do that, but I made it to the state finals. I unfortunately lost the match, um, but I guess that's kind of when people figured out who I was, or most people figured out. Some college coaches were talking to me before that, but not a ton.
Yeah.
And then, when you make it to the Illinois state finals, right, you get put on the radar a little bit. So.
Yeah. So you finished up in 2006 with me, actually. So we were the same age, and we were both second place finishers that year. So we
Yeah.
didn't have we left a little upset that weekend. But
Yeah. But
you
then we
graduated.
remember when we got to take the limo to the three of us. Do you remember that? Or I guess it was probably the five of us, and with Steve, and we took the limo and went to the airport. We flew out to
Oh, Pittsburgh.
Pennsylvania, yeah, Pennsylvania, and wrestled in that tournament. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we traveled a couple times, right? Didn't that was Pittsburgh? That was senior nationals, correct?
Yep, yeah,
McNames.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Um, yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
That was
You have Montel Marion was a double leg. I don't think he's ever recovered from.
Yeah, I think he recovered, McNames. I think he recovered. He got a little bit better after that too.
Yeah,
Um,
allegedly.
Hey, Adam,
yeah,
can I ask a question?
yeah.
yeah.
How many losses did you have going in the state finals?
I think 9 or 10. I I had a few. I actually the Harvard tournament. I wrestled the same kid twice, and both times I was pretty close to attacking him, and he headlocked me and pinned me twice. And then I was supposed to wrestle him in the because I won regional, so I got the bye. And the kid that was wrestling into me was the kid that headlocked me from I don't remember where he was from, but he headlocked me, and then the whole week I feel like I had Dan Casillas throwing headlocks at me from everywhere. And then the kid ended up losing, and I didn't even wrestle him, but I remember, yeah, Dan headlocking me the whole week getting ready for that first match, and didn't even end up having to wrestle him.
Okay, one more question for you.
Yeah.
The guy who wrestled in the semis, how bad he beat you early in the year?
Which guy?
Kid from Neuqua Valley.
Oh yeah, you're talking at state. He
No, no,
basically.
no. We wrestled him in a duel, and he
Oh
teched
yeah,
you,
yeah. We wrestled him in a duel. I got the first takedown, and then he
and he
reversed
got
me,
on
got
top.
top, and then yeah, you made me take bottom, and And yeah, he turned me. Yeah, he teched me at the yeah, when we wrestled in the dual meet, he teched me. But at the state tournament, you don't have to work on weaknesses anymore. And I think I took him down like 5 or 6 times in the match, and
Yeah, it was
he never
awesome.
he never
So
got on top. He never got on top of me. So
Marty didn't tell you to go
What's
down
that?
at state. Is what you're saying? You didn't tell him to take down at state. Is what he's saying, right?
No, we didn't take it down and say not
no,
at all.
yeah. We picked neutral. I probably every match. I think we probably picked neutral.
You know what? You know what you said as you walked off?
What's that?
You
I
said
don't.
you don't remember? No, you
No.
were heavier than Steve. You were a weight above him, weren't you?
Yeah,
Oh, you know
Steve
what it was?
60, I was 71.
When you won in the semis, you came up to me and he goes, "I didn't want Steve to go by himself to nationals."
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was pretty sweet.
Yeah. I can still remember those things even though I'm getting old.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you remember the good memories.
Right.
Adam, just thinking it back, I mean, we brought up Steve a couple of times. We're hoping, I haven't reached out to Steve yet, but I have to here soon, see if he wants to come on. But Steve Dwyer, obviously, I was a college teammate of his at Nebraska for a year, and I obviously trained with you guys throughout high school and at times. Steve is such a unique person. I'm so glad and grateful that I had the opportunity to be his teammate at some point just to see how he approached things. But how was Steve Dwyer as a teammate, and how did he help you?
He was intense, right? And I think we both kind of came from the same economic background, so we were able to kind of link that way where we didn't necessarily have as much money as some of the other kids in our school, and so I think we really bonded over that. But he really, he just we would always talk about doing things outside of what Marty had us doing, right? He'd always talk about doing the things that coach makes us do everything, and we had to find ways to do things that coach wasn't telling us what to do because it gave us an edge. He would always talk about that. He always talk about getting edges on people, and yeah. So I as a teammate, right? He was because he was 160, I was 171, and and when we were freshmen, he was a little bit lighter, I was a little bit lighter, and we kind of grew together. So we wrestled a lot together over 4 years, and then we also had his brother, Dave would come in and wrestle with us too, and it was actually always a lot of fun when it was just me, Steve, Dave, and Matt in the room. I was kind of like a brother to them, and so yeah, a lot of times you leave and just about everybody was bloody after that, after goes like that. But it was just us four in the room, so nobody even really knew what was going on. We wrestled in my basement all the time. My mom would get mad. We'd put holes in our wall, and yeah, we were always doing stuff. We were always trying to figure out a way to, I guess one up everybody else.
You guys did.
Yeah, it's so important to have that, like, I don't know, it's camaraderie, brotherhood. You guys were similar weights, so when you guys were competing to to beat each other. So
Right. Yeah, we'd wrestle hard against each other, but obviously we wanted to see each other succeed
yeah,
when we were wrestling everybody else. So I think pushed us to a different level for sure.
And how did you guys balance that? Because, I think one interesting thing is like how friends can oftentimes be good for each other, but also bad for each other. Like, how did you guys make sure to keep each other accountable throughout high school? Or did you guys kind of just do your own thing? And
Yeah, it never, I guess, really had to be talked about, right? Like whatever happened in practice was practice, and it was never like right, you'd get chippy sometimes, and it was never like it was like a bad blood thing. You'd walk out and go shower, and then we were doing whatever, right? We were going to my house, going to his house, wherever we were going,
yeah,
right? Just doing stuff. So I don't think, as far as I guess that goes, like we never had any bad blood or anything like that way. And I don't think
yeah,
we had to keep each other accountable because we were both always trying to do the same thing, right? We were
yeah,
both trying to do good, right? We were both trying to be good, and so I don't think neither one of us ever I feel like had a time where it was like we were off track or doing something that, really crazy that we shouldn't be doing, right? It was, we never really, I guess, veered too far off the path.
Yeah. So do you think when you were a freshman, you were like locked in on state championship like mindset?
I don't know if I necessarily like thought about it as a state championship, but I was definitely locked into wrestling. I don't I definitely like, I never like complained about going to practice or like thought about missing a practice or anything like that. And my freshman year, actually, there was a guy that was ahead of me I think he was ranked like 2 or 3 at the start of the year, Caleb. And then he actually lost in a dual meet and decided he didn't want to wrestle anymore. And I remember Marty calling me and asking me if I wanted to go to a tournament um, my freshman year. And then I went to didn't even think about it, right? Went to the tournament and kind of got myself in that way, just because another guy, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but he decided he didn't want to wrestle anymore at the end. It was pretty early in the year, actually. So but I don't know if I ever really thought about a state championship at that point. But then I watched, um, Dave, I think, was a senior. Grant Miller was a senior. And so we had some guys that were in the state finals as a when I was a freshman. And so that's what really made me think about like doing something right good, doing something big. So
Yeah. And, Marty and McNays, we've talked about this so much about how important that type of stuff is, like when it comes to like you're going to have individuals, and obviously, were you wrestling year round before high school?
no, I played baseball and I played football.
So when you were, I guess, yeah, I mean, so what was your success before high school, wrestling
Uh,
wise?
I was pretty good, I thought. I don't know. I didn't like
Did you wrestle
travel.
kids like IK and
I
stuff?
did, but I didn't. I don't know if like it was my parents didn't really know that much about it or what. But like I only like went to the kids like state stuff one time, um, and then yeah, I don't know. I didn't like travel around as a little kid or anything. I went to like
Yeah.
I was a junior Golden Eagle and I went to practice a couple times a week, and that was it's like I liked wrestling. I always enjoyed wrestling, and I always feel like skill wise I was pretty good at wrestling, but I didn't. We didn't like travel around or do anything like super
Yeah.
crazy that way, so the opportunities that kids have now to do that stuff is, I think, it's way, they have way more opportunities to be able to go out and see a lot of different competition.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I was trying to reference or just bring up is this concept that how impactful like the team culture can be and success of like people, right? So you're
Sure.
coming into high school not being a starter, right? So you're a freshman, 14 years old, 15 years old. You don't know. There's a lot of things that could come into your life that distract you, take you away.
Mhm.
And again, I just talked to somebody earlier about believing in themselves and having a vision to pull themselves towards or to push themselves towards, and like if you don't have a compelling future, if you don't believe you can win a state title, sometimes it's hard to get through 4 years of high school wrestling. But someone who's in a program like you guys were at Hononegah, where you could see kids 3 years older than you doing stuff at a high level,
Yeah.
teammates of yours at the same age, friends, right? People who you hang out with that are friends, they're doing something big. Why couldn't you do it? Right. And it's so impactful. And, we talk about this stuff a lot. So obviously having what you just said, the fact that you had peers to look to having success so that you could aspire to get there. Yeah. I mean, I think that developed probably your chip on your shoulder or your grit at whatever determination you had to find a way to win and get better. So
Just, speaking on our team, right? We had, my junior year, we took third in the state or fourth in the state, as a team, right? And that was the first time a team from Hononegah had ever qualified for state. And then we qualified again, for team state the next year. But, right, that kind of, I think, goes right along with a lot of the stuff that Marty kind of instilled in everybody within our program. Right, that it didn't matter if you were better, if you were worse than a kid, right? You had to go out and wrestle, as hard as you can at all times. And it's not necessarily just about you and your individual success, right? You're wrestling for the other guys that are around you. And, there's a lot of guys that were on that team that were never at the state tournaments or never, I think my junior year, there was probably, like I wasn't at the state tournament my junior year. I think Steve was, and maybe Rob Finnicle.
Rob.
And I don't know if anybody else on that team was at the state tournament. And both those guys, Steve took second, and I think Rob took like fifth. But other than that, right, bunch of regional sectional guys, and and then we go and place as a team. Like I think that just kind of speaks a lot to Marty and what he was able to get, and the rest of the staff, but what they were able to get kids to do, for each other and for the team.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive from the outside. So, well, let's fast forward to today. You are a college wrestling coach. You've been one for a while now. So how many years have you been coaching wrestling at?
Yeah, so this is my 8th year at Whitewater. So I coached. So I got done in 2012, and then I coached at UW Whitewater in 2013, 14, and 15. There was a coaching change, and for whatever reason, they didn't, keep me on. So I actually got out of wrestling for about 4 or 5 years. Got really big into Olympic weightlifting, became a head coach at an Olympic training site for weightlifting. And then when Coach Maddie got the job back at Whitewater, he called me up, was seeing if I was interested in getting back into wrestling. And so now this is the start of my 5th year back. So we just started our season, officially started yesterday. So it's the start of my 5th year back. But the first 2 years we didn't have national tournaments. They got canceled with the COVID stuff. And so so really I've only been, as a coach, I've only been to 5 national tournaments. So kind of weird that I've been around it, kind of in the college room for a long time. But as a coach, I've really only been to 5 national tournaments.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I also forgot I brushed over real quick, but just as an athlete, your national tournaments that you've wrestled as an athlete. So you wrestled in college at University of Wisconsin Whitewater.
Yeah.
So let's rewind a little bit. And how many times did you wrestle at nationals there?
I was at nationals in 10, 11, and 12. But again, never did what I actually wanted to do. I lost in the All-American round as a sophomore. I took 5th as a junior, and then I lost again in the All-American round as a senior. I had a pretty unfortunate injury my senior year. First day of practice, I ruptured a disc in my vertebrae, and it was pressing onto my spinal cord, and I had to have surgery. So I got a titanium plate and screws in my neck. And I came back that year. Maybe should have medically redshirted that year, but I came back because of our team. Right. The team has always been a big part of, I guess, for me, has always been a really big thing, like wrestling for the guys. Right. I had 2 guys from Hononegah, Dave Dwyer and Corey Anderson. They were 184. I was 197. Corey was heavyweight. So it was kind of fun to have the 3 of us. So I basically came back so I could wrestle with those guys. Was able to, qualify and win a match there, but, didn't necessarily do what I wanted to do. But I think that helps me coach because I haven't done I didn't do what I wanted to do. So I think it gives me a little extra motivation coaching wise.
Yeah. And you were obviously you mentioned 2 Hononegah wrestlers were on that team with you.
Yeah.
What place did you guys get that year?
I think we were like 8th. We had some,
But
some weird stuff happen because Dave got a concussion in the quarters, and
but
then
you were on a team that placed top
I
3, correct?
I coached all 3 of those teams.
Oh,
So
you were the
yeah,
coach.
yeah,
You know what I forget sometimes too, that I went to Elmhurst,
yeah. Later,
wrestled Division 3 later
yeah,
than I was
yeah.
supposed to.
Yeah, so you beat us the one year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was our first year placing. You guys took second, we took third. You guys had 4 guys and we had like 8, but you had 3 champs and then you took third, right?
Yeah, I took 5th or 7th my senior year when we got
Okay.
second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But I
so
think I'm
Latella was coaching and you were still competing.
yeah, but I think I'm
Yeah.
I think I'm 2-0 against him. I don't remember losing.
Yeah. Who'd you
Did I
probably
ever lose?
yeah, you were 33, so Russell Fredrickson?
Yeah, and then I think I might have wrestled the other kid that went down to 25.
Sutter.
Yeah, I think I wrestled him. I'm
Okay.
not sure though.
Yeah,
I
he
forget.
was well, Fredrickson would have been at I think at Nationals
Yeah.
as the 33 pounder that year.
Yep. That year I took third, so yeah.
Yeah.
But all right, so you with it's kind of crazy too that what's the experience been like right now just being at so you go to college, you go to Division 3 school, you go to University of Wisconsin Whitewater now, fast forward you're coaching there like have you just never you've always been does it feel like you've ever left college? Like what's it like?
Yeah, I mean yeah, obviously I left college, but yeah, I mean it's similar, right? I still have the same thing. Like when I came to school here, the coach recruited me and he was like, "Hey, we're not that good right now, and I think you could help us get good." Um, and as an athlete, we hadn't won a conference title in 21 years. And my senior year, we were able to do that, and then those next 3 years, we placed the next 3 years as a team. In the country, and then I left for a little bit and now I'm back trying to do the same thing. It's I guess I just have uh I have a want and a drive to win here, so it's but yeah, I mean, I teach at the university too, so I teach 10 credits a semester, and then I coach. So it's kind of like school, but it's a little different because I'm teaching and then I'm grading and doing that type of stuff. So, but it's
Yeah.
similar. It's a similar grind. I was up at 5 this morning. We were lifting at 5:53 this morning, and then I taught 3 classes and ran home and hung out with my kids for like an hour and a half, and then got back to practice. And right before I jumped on here, I was wrestling with a guy until it was like 6:20, and I was like, all right, I gotta go and shower so I can get on the podcast.
Well, thanks
Was
for doing that.
was Fader the coach that brought you in there?
Yep. Fader was my coach. Yep, and then coach Matt is
Yeah.
the head coach now, and he was the head assistant when I was wrestling.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which both guys have a what is it called, a connection to the area. Obviously Fader's from Rochelle, and Maddie was college teammates with Rob Anderson, and
Yeah.
we've known him
Yeah.
forever,
I
so
was gonna say Maddie
uh,
wrestled for Fader at lacrosse. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. That's how he ended up
um
in Whitewater. Yeah.
well, so if you could preview the upcoming season, like what are you looking forward to, what do you have coming up, like what's the team look like, and what are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I'm excited that we brought in a really strong freshman class. Have some returners that have done well. Our heavyweight last year took a medical redshirt year. So I'm pretty excited for him. He was really starting to turn things on his junior year and really start to figure things out. So I'm really excited for him. Obviously, he's a guy that I still wrestle like almost every day. So he was a guy that I was I'm really excited about. We have we have a lot of actually Illinois guys that did well at the Illinois State tournament last year that are hungry. I think we're finally back to where our culture is, there's 35 guys in the room that want to win and be a part of a winning program. And so that's really exciting. Like I've gone, anytime I walked into the wrestling room, get done teaching, I walk in a wrestling room, there's guys in there wrestling, right? So it's not me telling them they got to go in and do something, right? There's always, I could probably go back there in an hour and I'd probably find somebody in there, doing something. So so that's really exciting, right? We got I don't have to worry about guys like making it to lift or, making it to practice or that type of stuff. So so right, once you get past that part, now it's just the coaching part, right? And it's on us to really make sure that we're developing these kids and getting right, the proper training, and then focusing on things outside of the practice room, right? Making sure that they're reducing their stress as much as possible by right getting their homework done on time and right, eating right and sleeping, and so we talk a lot about that type of stuff. And but yeah, I'm excited. I'm hoping that we get back to the Midlands tournament. That's a fun tournament. We had 5 guys there last year. One of our guys was in the finals of that tournament, so that was pretty exciting. So we're still waiting to see if they're going to let us back there. But our schedule is a strong schedule. All the teams in the conference are really strong. So wrestling all those teams is right. It gives you a good test to right see where your guys are at and see right what things you need to work on as you go through the season. We're going to wrestle North Central this year, and they took, I think, second or third last year. So that'll be a good dual meet. We're going out to Michigan to wrestle some teams from Michigan and Ohio. So that'll be a good team trip for us as well. But yeah, I'm excited to see right where our guys are when we actually go out and compete for the first time. We're about 3-4 weeks away from that, and then we'll wrestle Parkside right away at home. They're a Division II school that we wrestle every year, and then right after that we'll have our whole team at a open, right? And so we'll be able to really see where guys are at. So that's exciting, to be close to competing again, right? That's what the guys like to do.
You had did you have a national champ last year in the upper weights, or was it a couple years ago?
Yeah,
From Illinois.
Yep, Jarrett Shinholster, he was a 2-time national champ at 184. Last year he was the OW of the tournament, and then Division III Wrestler of the Year too. So, and he's actually he's a graduate assistant for us this year. So, so he's in the room, with us every day as well now. So he's a good addition to our coaching staff for sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, season's about to start. Practice already started today or yesterday?
Yesterday, Yep. Yesterday was the first was like the opening of the NCAA season. They changed the rules a little bit, so we actually started Monday. They give you some it used to be based off of weeks, and now it's based off of days, and so they give you some contact days that you can use either before or after the season. So we started Monday just to have a normal, training week with lift in the morning, practice in the afternoon, and that type of stuff. So so we officially started Monday.
Cool. Yeah. Competition will start soon enough.
Yeah, November 1st is our first one. So
Look
yeah.
at that. Well, I'm going to pass this over to you guys. You guys have any questions or comments about Adam in college? In any time that you've known him. Obviously, we went to Pittsburgh together when we were in high school.
I'm gonna go real quick on college. The change of some of the point rules, takedowns and stuff. What's your thoughts on the 3-point takedown now?
That it'll be really interesting. It's taken it. I keep saying 2 in the wrestling room, right? And it's been. I started wrestling when I was 4. I'm 35 now, so for 31 years, it's been 2 points. You guys even longer than me, right? So, to say 3, that's gonna take some adjusting, but right, they're trying to create action in matches, and I think that will help that, but it's really gonna change strategies. I think I I think it'll really take some emphasis off of the top and bottom in a way, because if you got a guy that's really good on your feet and you're getting 2 points, or 3 points, and then they're only getting one, right? You're going up by two instead of one, and so I think it might change some strategy stuff right that way. I wish it would have been 3 points when I was in school, because I like wrestling on my feet
Right.
more than wrestling on the mat. But yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, if you go feet to back, it could be you could be up 7-0, in one move, which that's pretty
It's a lot
big.
to come back from.
Yeah, right. But
So,
it's 3-point takedowns, so
Headlocks
who
are
knows?
coming
Yeah.
back.
yeah.
Yeah, who
So,
knows?
kind of going along, and you brought it up. They're trying to increase the action. I know there was talk about eliminating riding time unless there was a turn. Do you think they're trying to emphasize, like freestyles all on your feet? Like
Yeah,
put back up, let's have action. You think college is looking to go that route? I mean, you
yeah, I
got
don't.
guys in college who can ride the hell out of people, and as a wrestling fan, that's awesome to see. I mean, I appreciate that, but for just the general public, it's this is boring.
Right.
I
I
think
think, yeah. That's a big part of it, I think, is they're trying to bring in new fans, right? Wrestling guys that wrestled, right? Or, wives that watch wrestling, girlfriends that watch wrestling, like they get it, right? But if you just have a random, person that wrestling pops on after a football game, right? They don't want to see a guy just laying on top of another guy. They're like, oh man, this is right. What are we doing here? Right. They want to see action. They want to see someone, right, getting lifted in the air and, right, big moves that way. So yeah, I think their draw is to try to, bring in more fans, I guess, right? Because if there's more fans, there's right potentially more revenue coming into the sport and that type of stuff. So I think that's right, their kind of thought process,
Well, we know,
what they're doing.
yeah, I think we can all agree on their thought process behind
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Um,
Whether
I,
that works or not, we'll see.
yeah,
yeah, well, I don't think it will. I think you're obviously right about strategy. I think when you look at the way that wrestling is now, like it'll actually like think about stalling, think about hand fighting and your ability to just hand fight longer and give up a stall call, because if you get a takedown, I think it's actually going to create less action on their feet, and especially at the Division I level in the quarters, semis, and nationals finals, because there's less risk to get stalled, like get a call for stalling, than there is to take a high crotch on a guy who is going to beat you 95% of the time defensively.
Right, for sure.
I'd rather hand fight. Like even thinking about, you could just hand fight, defend, give up two stalling calls. You could be down 2 points and get a takedown, and it's gone. So, and I actually think that maybe a little bit different. Obviously, I understand the mechanism that they think there's gonna be more action on their feet, but it does create an opportunity. I think there's an opportunity today, and there always has been, but for athletes to be good on the mat, because so many people are predominantly trained on their feet, they actually neglect mat wrestling oftentimes. So I mean, there's always going to be some guy that knows top wrestling and is just gonna, take advantage of people that don't like it.
For sure.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, you see that I mean, that's one of the biggest differences, I would say, from high school to college wrestling is, just being wrestling on the mat and right being able to ride somebody and turn somebody and then being able to get away, right? Like I remember all the time in high school I was pretty good on my feet, and so I would, you know, Marty would make me pick down in matches, and then I would kind of lay there for 2 minutes, and then we'd get back up, and the guy'd maybe pick down, and I'd cut him, and then take him down again. And there's a lot of matches like that where, you just kind of hang out on bottom, but you can't
right.
hang out on bottom, and in the college you're gonna get beat up if you just hang out. I learned that my freshman year, and um, you gotta learn how to get away from people um and yeah, and then you gotta learn how to ride people, because that riding time and turning people really changes matches. And um there's a lot of stuff that actually happens there that I didn't really realize when I was young.
Yeah, the two we've been talking about things, but about what the differences between high school and college is obviously one, hand fighting, two, top and bottom wrestling.
Yes.
Those are the two areas. Marty, is there anything that you have about Adam as an athlete in high school and his experience in college?
No, he's just one of those kids that was there every day, grinding hard. He got hooked up with Steve Dwyer, which is probably, those two guys were just tough kids. They weren't, not only were they great wrestlers, they were just tough kids. They were just kids that you wouldn't want to walk out and pick a fight with either one of them, because I guarantee it would turn out real bad. But
How important were they on your teams over those years? I know you guys beat us in conference.
We beat everybody.
Yeah. Except, well, hey, freshman year, man, we had you. All right.
Yeah, conference?
Yeah,
Did you
06.
Yeah, we didn't win it, no.
Well, you didn't win it, though. Harlem won it.
Someone might have thrown a punch.
But Harlem won it, to be specific.
Okay, let's get back to it, though, about Adam, all right?
All right.
We didn't lose very often. And the reason we didn't lose very often is because I had guys like him.
Yeah.
Steve Dwyer.
And how did they, how did they impact the team culture? Like, what was it like over those years, though?
No, they were brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just physically in the room and those guys made kids better. Because, in our program, we had kids that never wrestled before high school. And somehow in 4 years, they became better wrestlers. The reason they became better wrestlers because they had guys like Adam and Steve and wrestling with them every day. There was 80 kids in that wrestling room. People don't realize what it was like back then. It was
well, I think people do.
What?
I think people that have experience definitely understand what was, I was thinking about like just all the guys that I remember competing against that they weren't like, again, I don't know how to say this. I don't know if I was ever afraid of losing to them, but they were always like going to be a good,
they were in your head.
They were in your face.
They were going to wrestle you hard for sure.
Yeah, they were going to wrestle. That's a great, they were going to wrestle hard and not quit. That's,
sure.
And the talent might not have been there, but your guys always came to brawl.
Yeah.
They would be right in your face. They didn't get you. They knew, like, back in that day, we had Oscar who liked to move and shoot from a distance. They'd be right in his face, tying them up.
Yeah.
I never felt threatened. Like, let's say that we would lose to one of those kids, but you just knew it was going to be a 1 or 2 point match. And that's the difference to winning duels and tournaments, not giving up pins and giving up majors. And
like Adam said, he goes, when we took 4th in state, I think we had 2 or 3 state qualifiers that year or whatever. And we just had a bunch of good kids that were tough and scramblers and guys that worked, and there was no secret. There was no secret to it. It's just that was my belief.
Marty would sit in the lunchroom for like a week before the wrestling season, and any boy that came by that said they weren't playing basketball, he's like, "Oh, you look like a wrestler. You look like a wrestler." And we literally have, like, there'd be no room. Like, kids would have to roll mats out in the other like outside of the room because there wasn't enough room for everybody on the team.
Yeah. And were you guys, how were you treated, your guys' teams? Like, obviously you guys were having the most success out of all the teams. What was that like as an athlete at Hononegah?
I don't know if, I guess, they do the intercom stuff over, they talk about how people
did. Even within the community, not necessarily just the school.
Yeah, I think the community supported us. We always had big crowds and that type of stuff, which was always right when you're wrestling. That's always fun to have, people supporting you behind you. And we do some fundraising stuff, and, the community would support us with that type of stuff, where we'd go out and do work for people. They'd pay, they pay the program for us to go, probably child labor law type stuff. But, we'd go out and do work for them, and, cut down tree. I remember me and Steve were a package deal, and we had to go to this guy's house and cut down a bunch of trees and do all this, do a bunch of woodwork. And then he had us up painting his second story windows and stuff. Yeah. But they, they supported us, and right, obviously that's, you need people to support and give money so that you can have, right, nice uniforms and be able to travel, and right, and support having 80 kids on a team. That's, it's not every school has got that in a budget, right? And so, that I definitely think, obviously as a kid you don't really think about that, but now as a coach you think about that stuff. The community had to have supported us, pretty well that way. So
What's your thoughts on the transfer portal? Does it affect you much at your
Man,
school or at the D3 level? Do you?
oh yeah, we're always looking at the transfer portal. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of kids that go D1 that realize that they might not, they might be really talented, or or whatever, and D1 just not necessarily for them, or they weren't going to make it in their lineup or whatever, and they wanted to be, right, someone that's wrestling. And so yeah, yeah, I mean, the transfer portal, we're always looking at that and trying to find
Yeah.
kids and get kids that way for sure.
Does it probably not so much at your level? Does it affect your recruiting otherwise? Like, are you still looking at the same number of high school kids and the transfer portal at the same time, or?
Yeah, yeah, it doesn't really affect, I don't think, our, because it's not like a ton. You don't get a ton of, transfers. We get some transfers. We had a guy that was a two-time national qualifier for us, and he was at Parkside, which is just down the road for us. And then, he transferred in as a sophomore. And but yeah, it doesn't necessarily change like our, we're we always try to find, right, freshmen that, or I guess seniors that are in high school that are going to come in and be freshmen that, want to be with us, and, be under our system. And, we're very clear with, right, what we're trying to do as a team, and, right, expectations and that type of stuff. And, so, trying to develop kids that way. But yeah, anytime you can find, right, a talented wrestler in the transfer portal, that's always, right, a bonus for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, going off of that aspect, but thinking about college in general, but thinking about Whitewater specifically, like, just from your experience being here in the the Rockford area, and how close and
Rockton area.
Rockton, sorry, but you get what I'm saying. The overall Northern Illinois area,
Yep.
and having Whitewater be an option that's close, but it's also kind of affordable compared to so many other schools and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, what was your experience? Or, yeah, I guess, what would you say about that? Because I think, obviously, I helped coach with you guys one year, and I had the ability to, I mean, it wasn't, I was extremely exhausted from the ability to do it, but I could wake up, I drove to Whitewater, got to practice, and then I would come home, and so it was close enough for me to be a commuter to coaching at Whitewater for a year. What was it like to be like so close to home? I mean, because I struggled. That was one of the things I did struggle with when I first went to college, was just the uncertainty of like how long it took to get around familiarity and stuff like that. But did you come home much when you first went to school?
I didn't come home a ton necessarily, but it was nice to be close, where, I have 6 brothers and sisters. So, so it's nice to be able, it was nice for them to be able to come in, they were at like every dual meet. My parents were, really supportive that way too. So like, I can't really think of anything outside of like a super far trip away that, that my parents weren't at. So that was actually a really, big draw for me, to going to Whitewater. and really the coaches there were talking to me before, I did really well. I actually remember sitting down, and Coach Vader, me and him were talking, and he was like, "So are you gonna wrestle in college?" Because at that point I kind of always thought I was going into the military, and and it was he was asking me, he was recruiting me, and then at the sectional tournament he like sat down, he's like, "All right, are you gonna wrestle in college or not?" And he kind of just asked me that way, and I was like, well, I was going for third place at that point to qualify for state, and I was like, "All right, if I win this match, I'll wrestle in college." And then I won the match, and so then and then the next weekend I did even better. I took third at sectionals and second in state, and then I had a lot of coaches calling and that type of stuff. At that point I hadn't gone on any visits or anything, but yeah, one of the big draws was being right close to home, and it was kind of cheaper than a lot of the other schools that were in Illinois, and yeah, so I think right the draw of it being close, and my family being able to come and watch me, and then being part of right having coaches believe that I could come in and help them change a program around, I think was really another big draw for me that way too.
Yeah.
So when it
Well,
comes to recruiting, I know Maddie's a Wisconsin guy, you're an Illinois guy. Which tournament do you look at a little bit higher? The Wisconsin State tournament, the Illinois State tournament?
Oh my God.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm always at the Illinois. You guys, I'm at the Illinois State tournament recruiting. But it's more so I'd be at the Wisconsin State tournament too, but it's always during the our conference tournament. So some of our other coaches go there because I got to take our team and make sure our team's ready for our competition. But I'm obviously biased towards Illinois.
yeah, I mean, what's interesting is there's always individuals coming through now that are, I mean, again, depth wise, I think Illinois has a head start, and it's going to be hard to catch even all states really.
Yeah.
Obviously Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Iowa. Well, so Iowa's hit or miss. Sometimes they have a real good class and sometimes they haven't, but
Yeah, I mean, Wisconsin wrestling has really actually, stepped since I was in college, has really, gotten a lot better. The Askren brothers are doing really, really good things for Wisconsin wrestling, and right, they have academies everywhere. We have a guy that wrestled at Whitewater. He was a two-time national champ that runs an academy in Milwaukee. Out of it's a Askren Wrestling Academy affiliation, and so I think they have like 6 or 7 clubs now, and then there's a couple other clubs, but they've really advanced Wisconsin wrestling a ton, and so the depth might not necessarily be the same, but there are a lot of really good Wisconsin wrestlers that come through. So
yeah, there is. Well, guys,
I got one more question for Adam.
yeah.
All right. Don't you think that we should interview all 3 Dwyers together?
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
Wouldn't it be great? See if they might
Yeah.
get in a fight during it, right?
Yeah,
well,
it'd be a longer interview, that's for sure.
well,
I
Marty,
think that's
didn't you say, Marty?
the way to go.
Well, we can do it, but didn't you say that you wanted them all to be together in one room?
Right. Well, they could be, they could be in separate rooms, I guess, in one house though.
Yeah.
All together. I want them all in one house.
You want him? He wants to see.
He wants to fight
See
the
what
bird.
happens.
I don't want to fight. I just want to see it.
Well, I think they're probably. I wonder what a Dwyer family get together looks like.
I will say one thing though, Adam. You were a Hononegah wrestler.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I loved it, every part of it.
It was awesome.
Yep. It was awesome, and I'm super glad that I've gotten to know you, and you were around at the same time. So, yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Yeah.
One more question.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Marty.
If I get your phone number, or if Dalton sends it to me, can I come up and watch practice?
Oh yeah, anytime. Come in.
Okay.
And we're gonna have a youth night and a high school night.
I want to come. practice. I don't want to watch
Oh, yeah,
youth.
come,
I want to see college wrestling.
no,
You
yeah,
got a senior
yeah.
citizen night for Marty?
No, I'm saying like a youth night, like to youth kids will come
Well,
in and watch our
give
dual meet. High school night, come in and watch our dual. The high school teams will come
Yeah.
in and watch our dual meets. But yeah, no, come, yeah, come on up. You can come watch practice.
That'd be awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah, well, great. Thanks, Adam. Hopefully we'll see you throughout the season. You have any plans of coming back down and watching some dual meets
oh
or
yeah.
anything?
I get down. I don't know when our alumni for Hononegah is, but hopefully I'm able to come down for that. But yeah, I come down. I recruit in Illinois. I know obviously you guys, right? A lot of the Northern Illinois coaches. So I'll be down like the Barrington tournament, and I try to usually get over to like Dvorak and that type of stuff. And so yeah, so I'm down in the area for sure.
Cool. Well, great chatting with you tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having
And
me.
yeah, we'll reach out again during the season and have you come on and see what's new with the season.
For sure. Let me know.
All right,
Good to
thanks.
see you, Adam.
See ya.
Yeah, good to see you
See ya.
guys.
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you.